I can never forget a story a brother priest told me about a woman who came to him to speak to him about her husband who was diabetic, but he was eating all the wrong foods. He didn't want to change any of his habits, and any time that she tried to move him towards a healthier diet, he would get very angry with her and all this kind of stuff, fuss. And she was going on and on about this and how she's just like, why? And she's blah, blah, blah. And he finally said to her, he says, he said, why don't you just one day go home and fix every kind of fried, sugary, fatty, bad food and put it all out there on a table with soda and beer and say, look, I love you, I want to stay with you, and I hope the best for you, but if you're not interested in that, go at it, have at it, die, and give me a few years of peace. And she sat there stunned. And then she burst out laughing. And and they laughed he said, for about 5 minutes, just going on, just thinking about this scene. And she realized that she can have all the intentions that she wants, that the other persons are not responding. What happens after that? And that is where it's easy for us to be tempted to start judging another person's motives and their whole, what's going on behind them, what's happening around them. When the next step for a disciple of Jesus ought to be, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? And wait for God's inclination to move us in how to serve that person next. Many times you just get into this thing like, well, this is it, and I can see it so clearly, and why can't let's just do that? And, well, maybe that's just not the path that God has. Who knows? Maybe people are resisting it, and it's not up to us, to force that horse into the water. I don't know. But this whole sense, I think, of Jesus' teaching about judgment and how our heart sees the heart of another. All wars are fought in the heart. And I think we've seen that most recently with the issues that are happening at our southern border. When these images of families being separated started to come through and all these reports about what was happening, people responded because they felt their own hearts rend along with the suffering of these people. And our first reading, it seems so disconnected, but it's not. Because these are things that are happening right now. Kingdoms are fighting and people are suffering because of it. And they're being shuffled off or they're being pushed out or there's nothing left for them and they have to do something. And we can sometimes just lose sight of all the different things that are happening in the world. And so our disposition as disciples isn't to figure out everything for people. It's to encounter them and to accompany them. What Pope Francis has asked us to do is first, like Sister Mary Holywater taught us, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we need to be listening twice as much as speaking. We encounter a person, we listen to them. What's happening? What is God saying? What is God inviting me to do to respond? And then to accompany, to say, I'm going to journey with you for as long as you need it, as long as you need me to be there. And then allow God to lead us through that journey, instead of deciding for someone already what they need to do. It shows that we're relying on the Holy Spirit, that we're relying on God's providence, who is the true wisdom in this age, and any age. And so, my brothers and sisters, let's not be so quick to judge. Let's not be so quick to figure everything out for everyone around us or ourselves as well. But instead, learn how to say, okay, God, how do you want me to serve you in this moment? Lord, make me an instrument of your peace in this moment. And I think with that kind of disposition of heart, we begin to see how Jesus sees people. And the Spirit begins to show us more clearly how God works about their salvation in our midst.